Test, 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 test. All right, so I apologize if the sound went out or if you haven't been able to hear the first part of this podcast. I just looked down and I realized I've been doing all this talking, but I wasn't getting the appropriate mic feedback display that I'm used to seeing. So I'm questioning that any of the first like 6 or 7 minutes of the podcast actually has any audio, but we'll check it later. So just to give a quick summary, and then I'm going to kind of keep going. I'm excited for this show because it's involving Oscar Isaacs, and I was just kind of lavishing praise on how much I loved his performance in Dune. He felt like that person, the head of a household, trying to do the right thing, trying to put the family first, giving, that nice Ned Stark energy without the world being so kind of in your face with its horribleness. Like in Game of Thrones, the evil is so in your face, you have to experience it along with these characters. In this, it's kind of more like an abstraction that consumes you. And Oscar Isaacs really has a marvelous presence. There's so much that I love about the Dune movies in general, from the way that they incorporate the costume designs to the way that the colorization and like the whole palette of the movie is very understated, to the way that it just sits. The action just kind of finds its place in certain scenes and nothing feels forced or over the top. It understands what it's trying to do. And though imperfect, I think Oscar Isaacs is just one of my favorite performances in there. Just how he has the discussions with the son, how he really tried to convey the house, morals, the morality of the House Atreides. And I think it's a lot because Oscar Isaac's delivery is great. So because of that, MoonKnight is really exciting to me now. When before I was like, cool, MoonKnight's coming. But when I see this, yeah, that's really cool to me. That's really cool. So I'm not going to play any of the trailer stuff. I don't want to get any copyright strikes, but MoonKnight is coming and I could not be happier. So quick story beat, and this is on cheatsheet.com. Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige says MoonKnight is going to present a tonal shift. We're not pulling back. Now, right here at the top, they immediately mentioned that when Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and the Defenders became non-canon in the MCU, that left a hole in, I guess, the edge that those shows were bringing. The little bit of the grittiness, the reality, the harshness of the experiences of those characters, because they dealt with very serious real world things. Luke Cage was trying to clean up his neighborhood from a bunch of drug and gang kingpins who really didn't give a damn about the people. Jessica Jones was dealing with PTSD for crazy traumatic experiences with Purple Man. Kilgrave. They went with Kilgrave. Both names are wild. That said, in Daredevil, he just went through some brutality on his show. So that was where people went to go and say Marvel is like real reality sometimes, and this is how intense it can be, and this is how much it sits. Like Daredevil is basically Daredevil to Netflix is to Daredevil the comic like what the Dark Knight movie from Christopher Nolan is to Batman. Really immersed in this real world psychology, in this kind of like consequences are happening. So Marvel Studios head Kevin Feige says MoonKnight is brutal. So yeah, that means that we're going to get that nice, gritty, intense, real world fighting. Moon Knight, I know nothing about Moon Knight as a character. So this is very exciting for someone like me. I've seen the comic book covers of Moon Knight everywhere. He looks cool. It just didn't click for me in comic book form. And that happens sometimes. Sometimes there's a character that everybody is like, this is the best character. Everybody should read him. He has the best stories. And you may see the stories and you may appreciate the stories, but you just don't care about that character. Everyone doesn't like Batman. Everybody doesn't like the X-Men. I personally don't like Wolverine. I like some of his stories, but I don't like admire him as a character. I think he's annoying. And I think that people's admiration of his personality is overblown. And that's my personal taste. There are characters that I love, characters that are popular that other people are just like, I don't love that character at all. And that's what's up. That's how it should be. So I heard all the word in the wind about MoonKnight. MoonKnight. He's so great. He's a great, if you want to get into any superhero, get into MoonKnight. And I bought maybe like a random book, maybe two, maybe read up on some of his backstory, but he just wasn't calling me in. So all that said, it looks like the deck is stacked in my favor now because it's Marvel, it's on Disney Plus. I'm going to watch it anyway. Oscar Isaacs. And they are saying that they're going to try to bring in some of that energy from the Daredevil series, which I loved. I think the Daredevil series was just great. Seeing Vincent D'Onofrio back as Fisk is just a breath of fresh air in Disney Plus. So like, yeah, I want them to start pulling their people back in. Will it happen? Hopefully. I would even like to see Kristen Ritter back as Jessica Jones, as I think the first season of Jessica Jones was wonderful. I really enjoyed how they were pushing for the relationship that's in the comics of her and Luke Cage, but it didn't quite. I like that. I think they did a really good job. So I'm hopeful that Moon Knight is going to be very, very cool. So let's kind of keep it going, keep the ball rolling. I swear to God, guys, I'm going to figure out how to get some sound, some music on this live stream as well. I'm pretty good with it when it comes to just putting together regular videos. But for the live streams, I know that there's a whole thing with setups that you have to do. So I'm really going to figure out how to update that as well. So thank you so much for listening. Let's go to the next story. Boom. Oh, yes. I actually wanted to start with this, but I got distracted in my setup. So Marvel's newest Iron Fist is revealed. I want to point something out. This is something that I talked about yesterday at the end of the stream, where I said that I was going to go to the comic book shop and I was going to make sure that I got the variants and maybe even a backup copy or two of the latest new Iron Fist character. So I want to read a little bit of this story, and then I'm going to give you my thoughts. Okay, so Marvel's new Iron Fist is revealed, finally addressing his biggest problem. So stick with me, guys. Marvel Comics has revealed a brand new Iron Fist, addressing problematic cliches that have long plagued the hero as a new era began. And it says there's some spoilers here for the first issue. If you don't want to be spoiled on this, give it a couple of seconds, because in a minute's time, and I'm going to say starting now, back when we hit the 19-minute mark, I'm just going to go back and give you my thoughts on what this could mean. So they have a new Iron Fist, and he's a perfect choice to replace Danny Rand. And And there's his story. I'm going to skip that. So, okay, what we know about the Iron Fist in general is that Iron Fist is a power that goes from hero to hero. And at the current stage, Danny Rand is the one that is the Iron Fist. But throughout history, there have been Iron Fists who have been fighting, using this power, fighting the hand, so forth and so on. Now, it says that it was originally drawing on the aesthetic and themes of 70s martial arts movies. Danny sees him taken to the mystical city of Kunlun, etc., etc. So let's look at some of the panels, actually, because it's going to make it simpler. The real issue with Iron Fist is when the Netflix TV show came out. So when the Netflix TV show came out, oh, wait. Hold on. We're having an Octi minute, y'all. I'm going to show you right now. One of the apps that I'm really, really excited about is this thing called Octi. It's very weird. It's boasting as being somewhat of an NFT platform, but I'm not quite sure that it is. You have to go in and utilizing the in-game currency, you're able to grab different NFTs that are minted twice a day. When you get one, like right now, can you guys see that? I'm the new owner of something called Moon, and it looks like it is an actual like 3D model of the moon. Maybe that's a little bit better. It's kind of spinning around. My lighting is being kind of weird, but I wanted to point that out because I think that there's something interesting happening in that space. Don't worry, I'm going to make a full video about how my thoughts on the platform. I'm testing it out. I have been for about a month or so, but my Octi handle is in my description, High End Trend. Go ahead and follow me there. You can see my collection, see what I have. And I'm still trying to determine how NFT is this space. Is there any real world value to this? Okay, anyway, back to the show. Okay, so the main issue that happened with Iron Fist is that in the current landscape, there's all the talk of cultural appropriation. There's all the talk of things like the white savior or white savior complex. These are tropes that people have put when you look at cinema throughout the ages, how you have a Caucasian character, he goes to another land, he eventually comes and becomes the best warrior, the best leader of that land, and he's the one that saves them from their current situation or from themselves. So Hollywood has been trying to kind of mature and get away from those type of stories. You know, as the world progresses, Hollywood tries to be progressive too. And when the Netflix adaptations for all the different Marvel properties were happening, they were like, Luke Cage, awesome. Daredevil, cool. Jessica Jones, hooray. Danny Rand, ooh. And it's not the fact that Danny Rand is white. It's the fact that he was white, but utilizing a traditionally Asian American fighting technique. And that's really what the debate is. Now, depending on whatever side you may reside in, there is a sentiment that, you know, this is the character, this is how the character was set up, this is what he does. Why change the character? But then there's also the sentiment of, yeah, that's the character, but shouldn't he progress? Shouldn't he go somewhere? And as a result, I think that they didn't quite attract the talent maybe that they wanted when they were making the show, or they were trying to be very apologetic with it. So my issue is none of that. My issue with Iron Fist as a show is that I think that they took the sentiment that was happening with the world, the whole controversy with, you know, the whole idea of the white savior complex, of cultural appropriation. And so they tried to be they made him very apologetic as a character and turned him until he's kind of weak. He becomes kind of a pushover. He becomes less intelligent. They bring him down so as he doesn't make people feel any type of negative emotion, but now he's not the same character and he's not enjoyable to watch. So now they're having to write all around the character to try to make Iron Fist work, but they killed the character. They took out his fangs, they declawed him, and then they turned him into this soft, kind of mushy, boring guy. And they took anything interesting away from him as a character. That's a problem. When you overcorrect in that direction, you end up with this very bland bowl of plain lettuce that no one really wants to eat. So one more thing. Hold on, y'all. Emergency. So literally what they're doing right now is they're just bringing in a new Iron Fist. And I believe he's Chinese American. His name is Lin Li or Lin Lai. I don't exactly know how to pronounce it. But there he is right now in his debut. And I think that this is a very interesting, brilliant move that is going to allow them the opportunity to bring the character back onto the small screen and also expand the the catalog of characters that they can kind of pull from. Now, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, but I know for a fact that this is a discussion. Now, why am I personally so excited about it? I'm excited about it because I remember when first appearances of new characters came out and I didn't get any of the issues, or I did get an issue and I didn't treat it well, or I lost it, or it's damaged, or whatever. So nowadays, when I see something that could have any type of cultural significance, I'm just kind of going for it. So I have my Veve hat on a lot of ways. And when that's there, I'm trying to see how does this apply in a real world setting. So I made sure that I grabbed my issue of Iron Fist #1 with the first appearance of this all new Iron Fist character. And they're going to figure him out as the timeline goes on. But for now, he's sitting over there with some of my other cool pickups that I was able to get. So I was really happy about that. I wanted to show trailers, but I don't want this to get pulled. So instead, we're going to look at Loris Tyrell, who plays Danny Rand. And it's funny because I was actually I was thinking that this was going to be something in his favor for him playing this character, because in Game of Thrones, they have these great actors. They have a fantastic talent pool. And I thought that was going to kind of transcend to this role as well. But I'm realizing they probably selected him because of that kind of more quiet demeanor that he has on this show. And they wanted to apply that to the character Danny Rand, whom doesn't really have his teeth, his power, his oomph, and his impact. So that was probably on purpose. Let's look at some more stuff. Okay, so let's talk about Elden Ring a little bit. Now, this is an article on PCGamer.com, Elden Ring, everything we know. And I may have to do just some trailer reactions to Elden Ring as well. Next Deadly RPG. So they say right here, right? The Next Deadly RPG. But I remember watching some video footage maybe last week where they were discussing how the creator has said that players are going to be able to sustain themselves much longer in this game than they traditionally had been in the Dark Souls series titles. Now, that's the main reason why I don't play Dark Souls, because it's too tedious. You have to know exactly what to do every moment, memorize the landscape, have super precise, timing to get through. And that's not why I play video games. That doesn't do anything for me. Yeah, I can do it, but it's like I have to be so focused and so present. I don't really get much out of it. I like to kind of lean back and explore. And because it's so tough to get from room to room, there's essentially no exploration. That giant castle in Dark Souls only works because of how difficult it is. But you can't really like streamline through until you get a very highly skilled player. If that's you, congrats to you, or you cheat. So because this one is reportedly to be open world, they've made it to where you're not going to die as frequently, but that doesn't mean it's not going to be difficult. This is people's game of the year already. I already know it. I think it comes out in 8 days. It launches February 25th, 2022. So I'm sure some of you guys are already waiting for the day. You've taken off work. You have everything ready to go. And I think that's great. One of the things that we don't do enough in life is just enjoy ourselves and allow ourselves to enjoy ourselves. Take the downtime. Take off work when a new book comes out. Take off work when your new movie comes out. Whatever you want to do. Make sure that you put time aside to enjoy these things so you don't regret not doing it when it's happening in the moment. Those are memories, man. When new stuff comes out, that's a memory. That's a memory that you're going to have forever. And if it's right and the stars align, it'll impact you to a ridiculous degree. I remember where I was, who I was talking to, what I had to do to attain, the item when the last Harry Potter book came out. It was a whole story. It's a whole thing. It's a great tale that I can tell about where I was living somewhere different and my car didn't work and there's no buses running and I'm calculating the distance to the nearest book stop. Like it was a whole thing. And it just added to the lore behind getting the new experience. And I think that that's cool, man. Like, I remember when I was a kid, when Toy Story 1 came out and my mom took my brother and I to go see it. That was the last time that I went to a non-stadium theater on purpose. I remember trying to look around certain people because I was trying to see what was going on with Buzz is trying to fly, but he's falling with style. And it was just, we're laughing. And it was such a fun, lazy afternoon memory that just kind of adds to the lore of the experience. And that's why I think you have to take the time to appreciate the stuff that you love. So if there's a new game coming out, if there's a new book coming out, if there's a new title or whatever, you have permission to take some time for you and appreciate that work that those creators really put into it. And if there's anything about the Dark Souls titles, the creators put so much into the story, the lore, the world, the atmosphere, the mechanics. It's in depth. It is so precise. And so when we hear that they're making something new, it just fills us with this contentment that, it's just brilliant. It's just brilliant. So let's look through some of this. The official gameplay reveal trailer. I don't think I'm going to get kicked off if we play the trailer, but I'm not really going to risk it. So let's look at some of these screenshots right now. I got to learn YouTube regulatory laws and stuff like that because I'm not really exactly sure what's allowed and what isn't allowed. So look at how cool the bonfire is. It's so atmospheric. And I think that the open world aesthetic excuse me, is really going to play into what makes this game great. I'm a huge fan of open world games, and it's hard for me to go back. Linearity just feels so stifling now. My favorite parts of the game are when they let me kind of explore. So seeing something like this is great. So look at how incredibly detailed the environment is and the world is. The bosses are still massive. I mean, obviously they putting the camera down here at the bottom so that we're looking up so they feel grander. But, you know, that's part of the game. You know what I'm saying? I love the light and particle effects. I think that these are really fantastic. And I don't know if that's like a one-on-one combat situation or if that's just another boss as well. So I really want to show it in motion, but I'm not going to. So I love everything about the atmosphere of just, you know, the Dark Scrolls games, and Elden Ring is no exception. So the big news 2 E3s ago was that George R. R. Martin wrote the story for Elden Ring. I think that means that he helped with the world building and maybe wrote a couple of short stories here and there, or maybe he wrote some dialogue and some script. It's a really fun landscape for a writer to play around in, to see the different experiences. Like, imagine as a writer if you were to just world build and you have this city over here doing this and these people doing these things and these monsters that roam in these hills, and you just drop people in, and then you get to watch people interact with the worlds and the lands and the scenarios that you created. I mean, that's a lot what video game design is, but looking at this, it's just so clean and so polished without looking too clean. And I think that's what makes it feel so real for fans like us. Yeah, these are really, really fantastic. So a lot of people are really excited about Elden Ring. There's some funny threads that are going on. This dragon breathing fire is really, really great too. That's one of the games where in Dark Souls, when anything big happens, you really feel like a real human, how you would really react, because you wouldn't. You would die. You wouldn't make it. Which is an interesting mechanic, but not very leisurely, in my opinion. Yeah, so everybody is really thrilled. Everybody is excited. A lot of people are going to really lose a good amount of time on this title. But let's keep it going, because there's more news stories that I want to talk about on this fun, relaxing, no drop news day. Yeah, I'll just jump right to it. So this is a fun story. Thousands of dollars of factory sealed SNES games and I think some Genesis games were found in a storage facility. So a video game store closes in 1994. 94. And the inventory was found. And there's all of these sealed Super Nintendo games and Sega Genesis games. First of all, this is insane. This is crazy. Everyone is asking, how can I find a box of completely sealed Super Nintendo games so that I can make a killing too? Because that's what's so cool about it. First of all, it's the retro nostalgia, but just the value. Every one of these titles is worth something because they're sealed, they're factory sealed, it's verifiable, and they're a lot of people's favorite titles. Super Nintendo was just fire. So some of the things that they found, I'm going to read these here. Castlevania Bloodlines, Breath of Fire 2, Zombies Ate My Neighbors, Sunset Riders, Contra, Hardcore, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, Turtles in Time. And of course, you see I have Chrono Trigger highlighted because that's the game of games. Final Fantasy 3 and Secret of Evermore. Now, I am positive that if I had a factory sealed game of Chrono Trigger, I could probably get at least $1,000 for it. And there's probably multiple copies. In fact, let's look at what IGN says right here. So Turtles in Time is worth over $1,400 on its own if it's factory sealed. Final Fantasy 3 can fetch up to 1,200. That's interesting. Sunset Riders 750. Breath of Fire goes up for 1,200. Aladdin only 500. Chrono Trigger is over 600. That seems really low to me. Is it because, question for the world, the fact that you can get Chrono Trigger in various forms and various titles on various machines? You can get it on the Nintendo DS. You can get Chrono Trigger in the Nintendo Store, so forth and so on. Is that devaluing these? I don't know, man. Maybe. But factory sealed. This is so cool to me. And look at this. Look at these Sega titles. That box art for Sega, where the games were cartridges and then you stuck them in the plastic. That's so crazy, man. It's like everything was mimicking VHS. What's the VHS doing? And then when CDs came out, it was like, oh, well, what do CD cases look like? Or put our games in like that. So let's see what else I can see in here, if anything. It's kind of blurry, but I do see Contra, T2. That's Terminator 2. WrestleMania is right here at the top. Yeah, I mean, on and on. This is like, it's really, really cool. So these are the copies of the Turtles in Time. I do remember playing that many times. We got to beat it. My friend had a Super Nintendo, so we got to beat it on his machine. But I used to play it at arcades sometimes, and I just remember hearing "Pizza Time" in my head whenever you got like the pizza power up and stuff like that. So I think that this is a really, really fun story for a lot of reasons, just because it takes us back. It throws us into nostalgia. Like for me, I'm most interested in like the RPGs that pop in. So the sealed version of Final Fantasy 3, which most of you know is Final Fantasy 6. This was the title. This was the game. The last Final Fantasy title on a cartridge. The last time Final Fantasy was really, the main title was on a Nintendo cartridge. They tried doing some ancillary titles on on GameCube first. But just, that's funny. The main images are smaller than the previews. Just seeing the Final Fantasy 6 images there, it's just really amazing. It's really stupendous. Yeah, so for you guys who are a lot younger, a lot of the video game tropes of the RPGs, the JRPGs, the houses and towns and stuff, they pull from titles like these, like Final Fantasy, these classic games. The ones who, I don't think they were the ones who invented the look, but they certainly popularized it. This was cutting edge back then for the Super Nintendo. Like, look at the main villain right here. When he transforms, he's glowing in the sky. Like, this is great hardcore 16-bit graphics. And everybody knows this scene of Terra walking slowly at the beginning. I can hear the music in my head, the sound effects when she gets to this town, but her walking to the cave with the two other characters in the mech suits. Yeah. If I had found these titles factory sealed, I'd probably keep one on my shelf and try to sell the rest. But man, that's super, super cool. Like, and then obviously Chrono Trigger. This is the one I'd probably try to keep, because obviously for anime fans like me, Chrono Trigger is a great title. I had Chrono Cross for the PlayStation. Great game. Eventually gave it to my cousin, and I think I gave him my old PlayStation too. So he has it somewhere, or he gave it away or something. But this is a lot of people's absolute favorite title. I mean, it's still playable, more so than Final Fantasy 3 is, in my opinion. And it's because of the way everything's on screen. You can avoid the battles. Everything feels alive. The Akira Toriyama artwork is fantastic. And just seeing all these scenes is great. Now, you can obviously play Chrono Trigger in a lot of different ways. And on some of the newer consoles, they have added some like 3D-ish style zoom in, some new scenes. some updated artwork and things like that. But it's hard not to just get excited when you see this. Like, I'm partially thinking that mostly video games like this are the reason that I just am obsessed with pixel art. I love a pixel art that moves, that has energy. And one of my ideal spaces is to have pixel art displaying, have old school PlayStation 1 and a Super Nintendo in the corner where you can play RPGs and just have 16-bit music just pumping. That's my ideal place where I would just want to sit and hang out and just enjoy life. And a lot of that stems from games like this, from Chrono Trigger. Wild. That big frog summon, that's so great. Yeah, this really takes me back. Like, I don't think I finished this game, but I got really, really far, and I had a lot of fun doing it. And it's just one of those titles that just kind of sticks with you. So I was going to look at Breath of Fire 2, but I randomly stumbled onto something else, which I think is pretty fun. So there's this website, and it's called Abandonware, myabandonware.com. Abandonware is just a term for games that went through a certain amount of production, and then at some point, maybe they didn't publish, maybe they did, got pulled off the shelves, and they're just in some pile somewhere, abandoned titles called abandonware. So here is a website where I think you can download and play a lot of these old abandoned titles, and they have a bunch. So myabandonware.com, I literally stumbled upon it this morning when I was pulling up my articles, and let's look in a little bit. So you go into platform, and not Game Gear. I would know Game Gear, but that's too in the know. Okay, that's a good one. Sega 32X. So this was a device where you put it on top of the Sega, which gave it 32x times graphics or something, and then you plug the new games into that as well. So Afterburner 2, BC Racers. Wow, I've heard of like none of these except for Doom. Knuckles Chaotix I've heard of. Mortal Kombat 2. So it's like you can, I'm assuming, play these here. So if we go by genre and we go by role-playing games, RPGs, let's see what kind of pops up. You have a lot of classic ones. Oregon Trail Deluxe. So I was actually looking for Breath of Fire 2, and I stumbled upon Breath of Fire 4 for the PC. Now, Breath of Fire 4 is one of my favorite games ever. I had probably some of the most fun I've ever had in a video game. Had that nice, great anime aesthetic. Had the nice, wonderful storyline. Amazing animations. One of the things that I always loved about playing JRPGs is that they would have intros if you let the title screen linger for a while. So you'd put on the title screen and you would wait, and it would have, the text saying press start, and then something floating behind it, and eventually it would dissolve or blend or blur into this whole other scene, and an animation trailer would start. And Breath of Fire 4 has one of my favorites. I may have to do a list of best video game anime intros that I like, but I think that this is one of my favorite games. It's so atmospheric, it's so anime, and this is the last Breath of Fire game that I played that I thought was good. I didn't even play 5 because I was like, it has none of the energy that I like from Breath of Fire titles. So people that are like, oh yeah, 5 is the best one because it's nothing like the others. Well, you don't like Breath of Fire. That said, there is a PC version of this game that I didn't know about. So in the 90s and early 2000s, they would do ports of some of the JRPGs to the PC. They did Final Fantasy 7 and 8. and they didn't have quite the same kick because the PC disc, they couldn't have as much stuff on them. The music they had to shrink the file sizes, so the music will get replaced from orchestral scores to midis, so forth and so on. So I guarantee you this isn't going to be as rich as the classic version of the game, but it's pretty cool that they have it here on this website. So I don't really know much about this website other than the fact that they have abandonware titles on here. And if you look right here, just above my head, well, right there at the right here, that is from the intro scene. That, and you see Ryu right there in the corner, his face, that's the wind blowing in his hair with the animation. So Abandonware is interesting. Breath of Fire 4 is a great title. I'm really happy I stumbled upon it because I just wanted to share my sentiment with you guys about it. So that's most of the interesting news and interesting items and stuff that I've found. I definitely want to talk a little bit about Veve as well, because that's always on our minds. People are stressed about the gem squeeze. Some people are saying that this isn't a gem squeeze, that this is actually a market correction. Some people are panicking. Some people are like, this is what has been happening forever. Don't stress it. Don't worry. I don't think anybody's really in the wrong. I think we don't fully know, but there is 100% a lot that is happening. There's a lot of excitement because people want to make their own fortunes. There's a gold rush going on. The whole NFT space is a gold rush, and Veve happens to be one mountain that is ripe. We know there's gold there, and everyone's starting to show up with their pickaxes so that they can get their cut, because we all want to rise up. So that said, people are really intensely watching and following the market. And I think that that's a really good thing. But I don't want anybody to be stressed, because there's not really much you can do to control the market. All you can do is buy and be patient. Patient until it's ready for you. Okay, now sell. And then rinse and repeat. You can't have this be your only thing. You can't put in stuff that you shouldn't be putting in, you know? This is not financial advice, but be smart, be patient, take your time, because when this opportunity fizzles, and it will, like all of them do, there's going to be another one right behind it that had been going for a while. We just didn't know, or we weren't aware. So definitely don't stress. That's all I can say. But I do want to look a little bit at the Veve market because, why not? So this is our snapshot from Ecomi Wiki. This is my watch list of the collectibles I have. I have about 40 on here that I just want to see what they're doing. Some of them I own. Some of them I was just curious about because I wanted to see how the market would favor or not favor these collectibles. So we have Supergirl. The rare is down to about 200. It's pretty much a downtrend right now. Batgirl is at 62.77. I saw her below her drop price of 60, but that is okay because I think that that's good for purchasers. This Wonder Woman is settling around just a little over double the Batgirl. She's the uncommon. We did see her above Supergirl for a while, which is crazy because Supergirl is rare, Wonder Woman is uncommon, but none of them are FAs, but people were thinking that this Wonder Woman might be kind of an honorary FA, as the previous one was in that cartoonish style from the Artist Alley. So we have this Spider-Man Mighty at 137. The common, I don't know if that one's going to go up, but it might. Spider-Man 2099, the secret rare at 2049. That's funny. The uncommon Spider-Woman it's an FA. It's 55. And I don't have much to say about her. Common, uncommon. This Common Deadpool's at 130. Storm is kind of sticking around 65. Now, the Golden Moment statue, someone undercut again. Yesterday was at 39,000. Now he's at 38.995 thousand. I think people are really trying to get liquidity because they feel like something is coming. Anything of interest? Oh, Wally. He's down. He might get below 1,000. I saw someone post on Twitter that they bought Wally for 1,100. And I was like, I thought he was 1.3. Now he's at 1.099. So I know that that's still a lot, but he's slowly kind of, the market is being undercut. You may be able to get him at a discount. The Marvel Mighties that I like, Icarus is slowly climbing back up. Druid is still going down. He and Makari were sitting in the 50s, 60s for the longest, but seeing him below 40, that's interesting. Cell Wall is finally off on Kingo. Cersei's back up to 30. Zombie Hunter Spider-Man Ultra Rares at 747. Keeps going down, man. This is why I wish I had my liquidity right, because I would just get him and just sit on my 2 zombie Spider-Mans. But anyway, Ben Riley, people sleep on him a lot too. But what I'm looking for is I'm trying to see what is stable on a consistent basis, what doesn't budge a lot, and what is the first to sell, because the ones that don't budge, that's where your value is. So this Ben Riley, he's dipping quicker than your uncommon Spider-Man, which is dipping, but he is not going down as fast as Ben Riley is. The Thing is going down, his FA to 44. Visible Woman's down to 52. Johnny Storm stays at a healthy 114, and Steve Rogers is still at above 100. So there is definitely a decline in the market as anticipation increases. But does that mean that it's going to be permanent? Is it going to be one of those things where this is the new floor and we now have to recognize that we took some L's or took some losses? But I don't really know. But it's really interesting to look at. The Echo One went back up. He was in the 60s the other day, like 69. But yeah, so like Harley Quinn hasn't moved. That 500 edition, Steve Pugh, hasn't moved. Supergirl, down a little bit. Todd McFarlane, about the same. Jim Lee, down about 100. So there is a little decline, but not much. So that Jim Lee Nightwing, that one's pretty stable. Interesting. So the VV markets are one of those things where, like all the markets, you got to take snapshots. You have to start looking at things from the whole cloth. So I've been putting together my spreadsheets, and I'm just taking little snapshots so I can see my own progression. And I'm trying to follow different people. I'm trying to get the insight, but I'm not going to let myself obsess about what I wish I had or what I wish I could sell or something like that, because that's a losing game. I'm just going to hang out. I'm going to go for the drops. I'm going to try to get what I can get. And if I get something, cool. And if not, it's not a big deal, because this is a game that we can keep playing. It transcends just its temporary location and it goes to everywhere else. So that's all I'm going to talk about when it comes to the Veve marketplace. Thank you guys so much for chilling with me today. So this is a no drop news day in the Veve world, and it really makes me feel grateful that I have any opportunity to just speak on a platform like this, because there's so much news out there and there's so much content and there's so many voices, but everybody kind of pulls in information differently. The same voice isn't right for everybody. And there are those who are exceedingly popular whom we just don't resonate with. So I'm just wanted to make sure that I touch on absolutely as much as possible, because you never know what's actually going to get and garner you guys' attention, because, you know, this is all experimental. It's all fun. It's all in the moment. We're trying to grow. We're trying to build. We're trying to establish positions. And at the same time, we have to do them in a way that is most suitable for us and matches our strengths. So I like talking in the moment. I like discussing whatever. So I appreciate you guys stopping in. I appreciate you listening. Let me tell you real quick before we head out, the 2 ways that you can support the show. The easiest, the quickest, hit the like button or subscribe. Hit the subscribe button, follow us along. You'll get an alert anytime I am live or anytime there's new content. I'm not only going to be doing lives without my music and stuff like that. I am going to be doing some more scripted content. I'm still editing 2 or 3 things. So there's plenty to come, and I want to make sure that there's plenty to peruse through in YouTube. So if you ever want to just sit, hit a playlist and just let it go, well, you will have plenty of hours of content. That's really the goal. The only other way you can support the channel is that if you guys want to go over to the Refined Otaku shop on Etsy. As you can see, we have our new shop up and it's starting to get going. A lot of otaku stuff. I've worked with some anime artists, but I also have some t-shirts for the podcast and some fun hats. But if you want to be a huge supporter, grab a Wild with Wilder t-shirt, grab a t-shirt with the podcast logo on it, and just rock with us for a little bit. Use the code name Wilder and you will get 10% off your t-shirt or anything else in the store. Have any issues, hit me up. Just let me know. I did some of the design work, but I worked with some great artists as well. And there's just a bunch of fun stuff. The season is right. Summer is around the corner. Get your spring break fit and, get that subtle anime design. Sometimes you want to have a little bit of anime in your arsenal, but you don't want to be over the top. The anime chibi vibrant pink swimsuit is a lot of fun. We have some cool anime dresses that are more over the top if you prefer, and we even have some fun sports bras and t-shirts. So once again, thank you so much for watching Wild with Wilder. I'm Ilex Wilder, your host. I have more content coming, more regular videos, more live videos, but for now, you guys have a great day.